Welcome back, everyone. This is DerekJ Speaks, and today we are giving you a double review. On Friday night, we had two big wrestling events. Actually, there were multiple wrestling events that took place on this very night, but there were two specific events that were of interest to me, that being Ring of Honor's Supercard of Honor pay-per-view, and over on the WWE side, we had Friday Night SmackDown live in the Crypto.com arena in Los Angeles, California. And then ROH Supercard of Honor also took place in LA at the Gallon Center. These two events took place at the exact same time, and I took on the bold challenge of watching them both at the exact same time. Not the easiest thing in the world, but from what I could see, I did enjoy both shows. I enjoyed what I saw on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view more than what I saw on WWE television, but overall was a pretty good night of wrestling, and we will start by focusing on the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor show, the first official ROH pay-per-view under this new era of ROH. They have their streaming service set up. They got the weekly TV shows going for the last month or so now. And so it was all building up to this big pay-per-view here on WrestleMania weekend. And top to bottom, this was a damn good show. You looked at this show going in and the card on paper, and it looked very good. It looked very strong. And everyone went out there and delivered. And then some. Especially starting off the show. The show kicked off in a huge way with a AAA Mega Championship match with Hijo del Vikingo taking on Commander. And oh my God, words cannot properly describe the kind of match this was. I can't even really tell you everything that happened in this match because so many of the moves that took place in this match are just completely unfamiliar to me, because these two men, and we've seen them both appear on AEW television. Commander appeared in a ladder match before the last pay-per-view. That was that Face of the Revolution ladder match won by Will Hobbs. He was in that match, and he was a big breakout star in that match. And of course, just recently, as of a couple of weeks ago, Kenny Omega took on Vikingo for was there a championship on the line, or was it just a match? I don't think there was a championship defended in that match. I think it was just straight up Kenny Omega versus Vikingo. It had the big controversy heading into it, and both men went out there and just put on a damn good match, one of the best matches of the entire year so far. And so Tony Khan quickly got these two together, put them against each other, and put them right here on the opening match of this pay-per-view, and it was a great decision. Looking back on it, this was easily the best match of the entire night. That's not to downgrade any other match that took place, but this was easily my favorite match that took place. I can't go move by move, blow for blow of every single thing that happened in this match because it was just too crazy and insane for me, but it was a wild ride. It was the right amount of high-flying, frenetic energy that you would want in a match with two incredible luchadors like you got here, two of the best in the world right now. Many people heading into that match with Kenny Omega all those weeks ago were talking about how Vikingo is one of the best luchadors in the world today. I was very much unfamiliar with his work, but I was very much so impressed with what I saw from him. And tonight on this show, it was no different. In the end, Vikingo got the win and retained his championship by using the 630 and hit it just flush right smack dab in the middle of Commander. So I thought that was great. And for all the really good stuff that happened on the show, nothing could quite live up to that right there. Elsewhere on the show, we had a 6-man tag team championship match with representatives of the Embassy, that being Brian Cage, Toa Leona, and Khan, taking on AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Metalik. This was another pretty crazy match. A lot of back and forth, wild action with all 6 of these guys, as one would expect in a trios match like this. And to my shock, not only did the Embassy retain their titles, but it was Brian Cage who picked up the pinfall victory for his team. It was shocking because as of just a few weeks ago, with all the rumors circulating about Brian Cage and his contract status with Ring of Honor / AEW, it seemed like all signs were pointing to the idea that Brian Cage had a foot out the door and was gonna leave. But with him getting the win here and his team remaining champions, that kind of goes out the window. Just in terms of, we don't really know for sure. So definitely keep tabs on that one. We also had the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship on the line. Athena taking on Yuka Sakazaki. These two have had a nice little feud going for a while, with Athena being very aggressive against Yuka. And that pretty much was the story of this match. Majority of this match was Athena dominating Yuka Sakazaki. Ever since Athena turned heel late last year, she has been very incredible to watch. I haven't seen a whole lot of her work recently. Once they switched over to Ring of Honor, talent being majorly on the Ring of Honor shows. I have not closely followed the ROH Weekly TV. I watched some of it, at least certain key segments heading into this pay-per-view, but I haven't watched everything consistently. But Athena has been a highlight for me to watch anytime I have seen her in a match, and she was great here. Yuka Sakazaki, she was really great too. She had a lot of hope spots, but in the end, it was Athena who got the win and retained her championship. The Ring of Honor World Television Championship was on the line. Samoa Joe defending his championship against Mark Briscoe, the sentimental favorite heading into this match. They played up the idea that Mark Briscoe has yet to win a singles championship in his entire career. He has never beaten Samoa Joe, but he was going in this match. He was doing it for himself. He was doing it for his recently deceased brother. He was doing it for his family and the entire Briscoe Pugh family as a whole, going up against Samoa Joe, who himself, Samoa Joe, was in the enviable position of being the man to put down Mark Briscoe. He has his own championship and legacy to defend here. So I dug the story. This match was very physical. It was very brutal, as you would expect from Mark Briscoe and Samoa Joe. And the fans were firmly in the corner, all in favor of Mark Briscoe getting the win here. But unfortunately, he came up just a little bit short. He did hit the froggy bow at one point, but Samoa Joe kicked out of it. And as Mark was trying to go for that J Driller, Joe was able to avoid it, and eventually he got in the clutch, and Mark Briscoe could not survive it, and Samoa Joe picked up the win. And after the match, Joe picked up Mark Briscoe, and he adhered to the code of honor, and he shook Mark Briscoe's hand, but you could just feel the air and the energy of the crowd just completely disintegrate and evaporate because the wind was sucked out of their sails. They hated seeing Mark Briscoe lose here, but he did get a nice standing ovation after the match, so that was cool. We had Daniel Garcia and Hiroshi Tanahashi in a match that was made official at the last minute, but this was a good match. Daniel Garcia shockingly took control of, I want to say, 80% of this match. He was working over Tanahashi's leg. Not going to lie to you, this match was a little boring for me. I was not really a big fan of it. I was shocked to see Daniel Garcia take so much control of the match. Tanahashi, once he kind of regained control, it was kind of like his greatest hits. He hit one high fly flow in the end and got the win, but this was all Daniel Garcia, and no offense to him or Tanahashi for that matter, but I just wasn't really feeling this match all that much. I was feeling, for the most part, the next match, which was the big 5-team Reach for the Sky ladder match to crown brand new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. Not only new champions, but reward them with brand new Tag Team Championship belts. There was a brand new Women's Championship that was out there. Athena had that. And as a way to honor Jay Briscoe, they officially retired the OG ROH Tag Team title belts, and they introduced new ones here that the winners of this match would receive. And the teams in this match were Aussie Open, Top Flight, The Kingdom, the Lucha Bros, and Dralistico and Roosh. And you got 5 teams in this match. It was pure chaos from the very beginning. Too many crazy ladder spots to tell. A lot of cool, innovative ones. And this was a pretty fun match. But I even felt to a certain degree like this is... certain spots here are getting a little gratuitous and a little dangerous. A little too dangerous for my liking. Call me sensitive. Call me whatever you want to. I just wasn't really into some of the big spots towards the end of the match. And it led to the big spot of the match, which had a very unfortunate end result, which was, in theory, a cool idea, I guess, but the execution of it just went poorly wrong, as Pentagon had Dante Martin of Top Flight up on a ladder bridge that was in the ring, and outside of the ring was this giant stack of tables, and Pentagon proceeded to hit Dante Martin with a Canadian destroyer off the ladder bridge and crashing through the tables. Unfortunately, upon landing, Dante Martin, he went through the tables, just barely, but he went through the tables, but during the rotation part, his feet planted on the ground, and it did so in a way where it twisted his ankle, and it just looked so brutal, so disgusting. And you look at a spot like that, like, yes, on paper, in theory, something like that looks very cool, but it was completely unnecessary for this match, and it really took me out of the thing. Off screen, they had doctors, EMTs, all that kind of stuff. They were stretchering Dante Martin out, and it sucks because this is yet another member of this Top Flight tag team that is cursed by this injury bug. We've seen Darius Martin, Dante's brother. He's been hit with countless injuries over the last couple of years. Dante has had a couple injuries of his own, but it's been mainly Darius who's been struck by the injury bug. And it wasn't that long ago that it was speculated that Dante Martin, it was more of a freak accident, more of a close call, that Dante Martin almost got hurt, like not that long after Darius Martin came back. But now here it looks, that don't look like anything that you can just shrug off with the way that Dante Martin landed here. And I'm a big Lucha Bros fan. I love Pentagon. I love Phoenix. I love a lot of the guys in this match, but I just look at a spot like that and just think to myself, that was completely unnecessary, and you could have just not done it. And you see what happened here. And they tried to do their best to make up for it. In the end, the Lucha Bros did win. They are your new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. Mark Briscoe came out there and embraced them, along with Dax and Cash of FTR, who might be having their last days in AEW coming up soon, as they face the Guns for the AEW Tag Team titles this upcoming Wednesday, I should say, for the AEW Tag Team titles. And if they lose that match, they are forced to quit AEW. So we're going to find out this week what the contract status is for FTR. But this match, it was really good in the first parts of it. By the end, some of the spots just became a little too reckless for my liking, and then the big Dante injury really kind of halted the momentum for me. But I am happy for the Lucha Bros that they got their big moment there. We had the ROH Pure Championship on the line. Wheeler Yuta defending against Katsuyori Shibata. Yuta came out with Jon Moxley in his corner. All full-fledged heels now after the big angle that took place earlier in the week on Dynamite, where all the members of the Blackpool Combat Club, including Bryan Danielson, all teamed up to beat down Kenny Omega and establish themselves as a full-fledged heel force. Moxley was just out here for the entrance, but he did not play any factor in this pay-per-view at all. and he was gone just as quickly as he arrived. And it was just Wheeler Yuta by himself against Shibata. They adhered to all the pure rules in these types of matches, and by the rules of these kinds of matches, it was very good. Katsuyori Shibata, just about 5 years ago, had his skull cracked and almost died. And you fast forward all these years later, he's having a great match with Wheeler Yuta on this big pay-per-view platform like this, and he hits Wheeler Yuta with a PK running dropkick in the corner, and he pulls him out, gets the 1-2-3, and wins the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. So that was really cool to see. And in the main event, we had Claudio Castignoli defending the championship against Eddie Kingston. Great promo work going into this match. Great stuff from both men. And this match, while not the greatest championship main event you can ask for, the fans were really into it. The crowd, they fucking love Eddie Kingston. He is beloved by whatever crowd he is in front of. It could be the most dead crowd you can find, but then once Eddie Kingston comes out, he starts talking or he starts wrestling, which is a tool of his that a lot of people underrate many times. Not many people look at him as this great wrestler. He is, and he proved it in this match, and the fans just want to see him and support him and root him on to win. But sadly, he did not win. Once again, this was a situation where the crowd was deflated at the finish. It was a shock roll-up out of nowhere that Claudio got the win and retained his championship. Now, I didn't think Claudio was going to lose his championship on this show, but the way in which it happened was very much shocking and a little underwhelming, not gonna lie. And it left the crowd very disappointed. And after the match, Wheeler Yuta came out there to join his fellow Blackpool Combat Club companion, and they were set to take out Eddie Kingston. But then Shibata also came out, and he stood side by side with Eddie, and the heels backed down. And as the pay-per-view was going off the air, they literally had a minute or so left. Eddie Kingston is just cussing up a storm on the microphone, talking about how he could give a shit less, until they finally had to go off the air and they had their time cut. So, good stuff. Overall, very good show. The opening match was easily the best match of the entire night, and there were several other great matches that took place, but overall, it was not as great as last year's Supercard of Honor show, but it was still a very good show, and I enjoyed it for what it was. To switch things over, on the WWE side of things, we had Friday Night SmackDown, the March 31st, 2023 edition of SmackDown, WrestleMania SmackDown, to be exact, the final show before WrestleMania. This is it. This was the go-home show. This was the last big show to sell you on WrestleMania. So if you were on the fence about WrestleMania before this show and you were looking at this 2 hours of television to be the final thing to convince you to sign up for Peacock or watch WrestleMania nights 1 and 2 this weekend, if you were relying on this show to do that for you, then I don't think they really succeeded in doing that. It's one of those cases where if you're already excited for WrestleMania, great. This show didn't really do much to get, at least me, any more or less excited in WrestleMania. And we had some big things happen on this show. We had the final confrontation, the final face-to-face between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes before WrestleMania. It wasn't that much of a face-to-face. It started out with a Cody Rhodes promo, asking the crowd what they want to talk about and saying like he's said all there is to say up to this point, and he was literally trying to find something to talk about. He even quoted Tupac's lyrics in the California Love song. So that made for a funny moment. But ultimately, Cody's big point is that he is ready. He's done all the talking he can do, and he's ready to finish the story and beat Roman Reigns this weekend at WrestleMania on WrestleMania Sunday and become the undisputed Universal Champion. He was interrupted mid-sentence by Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, who came out there. Roman Reigns with the WWE Championship belt around his waist, Paul Heyman holding the Universal Championship belt. Roman gets in the ring. He goes to tell the crowd to acknowledge him. Then he stops himself and he says he doesn't really care what the fans have to say. And he says, it's Cody's turn. And he gets in Cody's face and tells him to acknowledge me. And that's how they went off the air. And a lot of people on Twitter were pointing out the fact that here in this big final image before WrestleMania, Roman Reigns was in Cody Rhodes' face holding up only the WWE Championship belt. Could mean nothing, could mean a lot. We don't know. This was the third face-to-face confrontation that these two have had up to this point, and it was probably the weakest, but the way I see it, there was nothing really left for them to say. Other than just wanting that one last image of the two of them face-to-face before the pay-per-view, I wouldn't have had a segment like this. They had their big final thing the previous week. They didn't really need this segment because it didn't really accomplish anything. Nothing brand new was said here. So I didn't see the need for it, but as a way to get these guys on the last show before WrestleMania and to get that parting shot, it was there. Also on the show was once again relegated to the SmackDown before WrestleMania, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I'm not going to list all the guys in this match, but safe to say there was a lot of guys in this match who had no business being in this match. Most notably people like Bobby Lashley and LA Knight. I've said that before. There's not much else to say about it. LA Knight proved that he had no business being in this match simply by the crowd reaction that he received. The crowd was going absolutely insane for LA Knight. Every time he would throw a punch at someone, they chanted his yeah stuff. So the fans were really into LA Knight. And even later on in the night after SmackDown was over, clips started to surface on Twitter of people recording some of the stars coming out and sitting down for the Hall of Fame ceremony, and they showed LA Knight in his suit coming out, and the fans were popping crazy for him again. So I love to see it, and I just hope that the right people are seeing LA Knight get these reactions and will do something about it coming out of WrestleMania. Hell, I hope they do something about it at WrestleMania, but we can only ask for so much. Bobby Lashley was the big story in this match. He looked dominant. He looked strong. He was one of the only guys to get an entrance heading into this match, and that made it all the more obvious that he was winning, and he did. It came down to him and Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed got some good heel heat by eliminating LA Knight, so good for him. But it came down to Lashley and Bronson Reed, a match I wouldn't mind seeing, even at WrestleMania this very weekend, but nevertheless, came down to Lashley and Reed, and ultimately Lashley hit a spear and dumped out Bronson Reed to win the Battle Royal. It sucks that Lashley was even stuck in this Battle Royal to begin with, but seeing as how he was, at least he won it. So that's all I can say there, and I do still hope that there is a spot for him at WrestleMania. I have some hope because somebody like Braun Strowman was in this match, and you had one half of the Viking Raiders in this match, or maybe both of them were, I don't know. But you had guys like that in this match, and they already have a spot for themselves at WrestleMania. So hopefully that is a good omen that somebody like Bobby Lashley and LA Knight can find their way onto the WrestleMania card in some capacity. But only time will tell. Outside of that stuff, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot else. There was a face-to-face confrontation with the Usos and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Sami and Kevin, mainly Sami, was talking about how before WrestleMania, and their match was confirmed to be taking place on night one, they made the official cards the previous day for WrestleMania Saturday and WrestleMania Sunday. This match is officially taking place on night one on WrestleMania Saturday, and Sami wanted to clear the air and have anything that needs to be said, say it now. And so everyone got a chance to say something, and I thought the promo work from all four men here was great. Jay had the final closing lines of the big promo here, and I thought everyone did a very good job. Again, a situation where there was not really much left to say. and they didn't really hit you with any last hard biting line. It was just more Sammy pointing out the fact that Jimmy and Jay are loyal to Roman Reigns when he's not in any way loyal to them. And the end result here is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn beating the Usos for their tag team titles, which I believe fully is going to happen. So, good stuff there. And then we had a tag team match on the show, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. Can they coexist? They beat Imperium. Some miscommunication here, but they still won in the end. Gunther was watching on a monitor in the back. And we had 2 fatal 4-way matches. Each of the 4-way matches were singles competitors, each representing their teams as a part of the WrestleMania Showcase matches this weekend. For the women, we had Raquel Rodriguez beating Shayna Baszler, Sonya Deville, and I believe Natalya in a pretty nothing burger of a match. And for the men, kind of more of the same. Ricochet outlasted Montez Ford, Ivar, and Chad Gable. I have no excitement whatsoever for either of the showcase matches, so this match didn't really do much of anything for me. It was just a way to get these people on the show. And we had a Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley promo package that I thought was really good. And we had a backstage segment where Rey Mysterio, who was getting all ready and prepped for his Hall of Fame speech tonight, he had a encounter with Santos Escobar and the entire Legado del Fantasma faction, and he busted out some LWO t-shirts for all of them. So they are officially the new reincarnation of the Latino World Order in honor of Eddie Guerrero. Vicky Guerrero tweeted during this, and she said that was fucking cool, and I concur. So that was pretty cool. And that's that. This is the last step before WrestleMania. As of this recording now, WrestleMania is tomorrow night or later on tonight, depending on when you listen to this, and I'm excited for it. Again, this SmackDown show at least, didn't do much of anything to get me any more excited for WrestleMania, but it definitely didn't get me any less excited for it. So that was pretty good. And as for the Ring of Honor show, obviously it has no impact whatsoever on WrestleMania, but it was a fun show to watch because there's a lot of great wrestling shows taking place this weekend. I can't watch them all, so being able to watch at least one of them, like the Ring of Honor show, was pretty fun. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and hope you guys join me tomorrow night or tonight. Join me back here on the YouTube channel right after WrestleMania Night 1. I'll be reviewing the show. The video should be going up Sunday morning, and then back again Monday morning for WrestleMania Night 2, and then Tuesday morning for a Monday Night Raw review. Until then, take care.